I just want to see my enemies fall. Hey, yo, I just want to pop. Before you about to go and get it out, nigga, I just want to pop. Look at them 20s where they crawl. I've been praying that my enemies fall, nigga, I just want to pop. Hey, I hope you proud too. And everybody gotta keep it true, nigga, I just want to pop. Hey, give me what I'm doing. Let my enemies see the living proof, Lord, I just want to pop. Trying to feel my own shit, homie. Enough room to put my niggas out there. Just start a couple business out there. Fuck you and even know shit out there. Yeah. Public housing we done left up. Trying to put that in my real building. Gold rolls what I still do. I can see the picture with a clear view. Gotta separate the snakes. And I would fuck niggas just don't hate. Can't pray to God, I'm catching up the text. But that's a small risk that I feel like gotta take. Only certain niggas ain't gon' feel this. Still deliver verses on that real shit. If I get a couple million, I'ma bust this shit down with these children. I just wanna pop. Tell them niggas set it out. Cause we about to go and get it out. Nigga, I just wanna pop. Look at them 20s where they crawl. I've been praying that my enemies fall. Nigga, I just wanna pop. Hey, I hope you proud too. And everybody gotta keep it true. Nigga, I just wanna pop. Hey, just give me what I'm doing. Let my enemies see the living proof, Lord, I just wanna pop. Hey, get up out of pills on me. That killers with them rounds on them. Look like the fed from the drum. Look up at me, make the people bring down on them. I can give a fuck if you rock blues. And I was so hooked from the fruit time crew. Cops still shoot us every time we move. They hate you, nigga, like they hate me too. Just know that brotherhood is a weapon. Build another dome, get protected. Too many sisters in the city been molested. Now I'm stacking soldiers off the block like it's Texas. Know that 250 your kids on it. Stay ringing in your ears, want it. If I'm blessed to make a meal, I'ma bust that shit down with my real homies. I just wanna pop. Tell them niggas set it out. Cause we about to go and get it out. Nigga, I just wanna pop. We get them where they crawl. I've been praying that my enemies fall. Nigga, I just wanna pop. Hey, I hope you proud too. And everybody gotta keep it true. Nigga, I just wanna pop. Hey, give me what I'm doing. Let my enemies see the living proof. Lord, I just wanna pop. Hey, yeah. Saw them children. They grew up with parents strung out on drugs. Yeah. I just wanna pop. Hope you do too. And I hope you do too. Yeah. Went to the program that had a real. And she left them for whatever reason. Yeah. I just wanna pop. I hope you do too. Because the sister, you know what I'm saying, they had that nigga leaving. Yeah. Nigga, I just wanna pop. So my niggas is locked up. I hope you do too. When I was committed to the Lord day. Yeah, I just wanna pop.
Shalom Israel, Shalom Israel, Yahweh Ba'Shem, Yahweh Shah, Barak and Thumb to the brothers, Yahweh Shamar, Allah Thun Ba'Shem, Yahweh Shah to the sisters. I'm Priest and Officer 50, Quran Ya'Allah, and tonight is another installment of Nothing New Under the Sun, Salakia. As y'all can tell by the title, we're gonna get into how America is Egypt, right? We're gonna get into basically like how the same stuff that went on when we served out our slavery in Egypt is the exact same thing that goes on today in America and in the other countries that fall up under the rulership of America or the people that run America, right? The ideology mainly around the globe where you find Israelites is the same thing that they had in ancient Egypt, right? So without further ado, I'm gonna jump right into it. We're gonna go to the scripts first as usual, right? And I'm gonna go to Deuteronomy 28 and 68. This is the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28 and verse 68. And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships. Now, if you look at the geographic location from Egypt to where Moses was actually talking to the children of Israel. You don't have to get on a boat to go back into Egypt, right? And furthermore, the name Egypt is a Greek word. It's a word that comes from the Greek word Egyptos, which means bondage or slavery. Like the people that we call Egyptians, their name was actually Mizraim or Matazarium in the Hebrew, right? And these were the people that had us in slavery during the time when Moses was born, right? And we're gonna get into exactly what kind of slavery we served, right? And we're gonna correlate that to actually what kind of slavery we served here in America, or not even just America, but anywhere across the planet Earth where you can find Israelites, right? Okay, I'm gonna drop that, and we're gonna go to the book of Exodus, the first chapter. All right, so lucky. We're gonna go to the book of Exodus, chapter 1, and I'm gonna start at verse 7, right? And just to give you some history and some context of what's going on in the book of Exodus at this time, right? The children of Israel, the descendants of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob's 12 sons, eventually Jacob and his 12 sons eventually moved. So like Jacob and 11 of his sons eventually moved into Egypt, right? When one of the brothers, Joseph, one of the brothers of Jacob's 11 sons, was sold into slavery to some Ishmaelites, and then he was later sold into Egypt. But to make a long story short about how our family came down into Egypt, Joseph the Lord was with him, right? And he interpreted Pharaoh's dream. Salakia, first of all, he interpreted two officers of the Pharaoh's dreams when they was in prison together with Joseph. Joseph ended up landing in prison because he refused to commit adultery with Pharaoh's wife. So he ended up in prison for that, right? So later on, when these two Egyptians that worked for the Pharaoh ended up coming to prison, they had dreams. And Joseph told them, like, he interpreted their dreams because the Lord was with him, right? And exactly what he told them what was going to happen in their dreams is exactly what happened. So he told the servant, like, look, man, don't forget about me while I'm up in here. Of course, the servant forgot about him until it was time for the Lord to put a dream on Pharaoh that he needed somebody to interpret it. Now, that one servant remembered Joseph and was like, man, look, this dude, Joseph, he can interpret that dream for you. So make a long story short, Joseph interpreted the dream for him and made Egypt the superpower economically of the world at that time. And in return, the Egyptian Pharaoh made Joseph second in command, right, of the whole land of Egypt. So it was a famine like everywhere in that part of the world at that time. And eventually, Joseph's brothers ended up coming down there to buy corn. Joseph eventually reveals himself to his brothers, and he tells Pharaoh, like, look, these are my brothers. My father is in the land of Canaan. I want them to come down here and stay, right? So long story short, we ended up coming down in the ancient Egypt, 77 people, and Joseph made sure that we were separate from the Egyptians because he understood that we are a holy people and we're supposed to be separate from all heathens, right? He understood that if we grow amongst people that don't care nothing about us or our power that we serve, then eventually they'll come to devour us. And Joseph understood that. So what happened was, after Joseph and all the sons of Israel eventually died off, right? And the years passed on, the children of Israel, we grew and we became not 77 people, but we became a nation of people at this time. And I'm gonna go into the book of Exodus chapter 1 and get into the story of what happened with our forefathers in the land of Egypt and eventually how we got into service slavery. So let me go to Exodus chapter 1, and I'm gonna start at verse 6. And Joseph died, and all his brethren, and all that generation. Right? So after a while, Joseph and his brothers, and that whole generation of people that was of that generation, they eventually died off, right? And the children of Israel were fruitful and increased abundantly and multiplied and waxed exceeding mighty, and the land was filled with them. Now let me stop right there and kind of break that down like word by word. It said, and the children of Israel were fruitful, meaning the Lord told Adam and Eve, man, look, be fruitful and multiply. You understand? Us as Israelites, just like today, you might see a Latino family and they got about 9 kids in one house between one man and one woman, right? Well, back then, we was having a whole lot of kids just like we do today. The Lord has made us a fruitful people, and he's made the descendants of Abraham as the sand of the sea, which can't be numbered. It's millions and millions of Israelites all over planet Earth. Just like it is today, millions and millions of people, we became a big nation of people in ancient Egypt because the Lord was with us and we was a fruitful people, right? And multiplied and waxed exceeding mighty, and the land was filled with them. And when it says we waxed exceeding mighty, meaning our nation was big, and we a warrior people, right? We was a big and mighty people, right? You don't want to go to war with the children of Israel for real, especially if the Lord is on our side. You understand? Salakia. And the land was filled with them. Now look at America today. The land is filled with blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans. We built up this nation just how we did in ancient Egypt, and I'm gonna get into that in a second. But we built up this nation in America, right? Because there's so many of us around in America for us to, for these oppressors to capitalize off of the skills that we have and just being in poverty, so we always needing jobs, right? We are like, there's a lot of Black, Latino, and Native American men, women, and children in America. Just like it says here in ancient Egypt, the land was filled with us. America is filled with Israelites. You got Israelites from Northern California, Central California to Southern California, New York, Mississippi, what every single state, Illinois, Florida, Maryland, every single state in America, you have Israelites there. This land is filled with us. You understand? Right? Verse 8. Now there arose up a new king over Egypt, which knew not Joseph. And what that means is this new king in Egypt that didn't know Joseph, it means he physically did not know Joseph because he's not of that generation. But at the same time, though, it also means that he didn't care about what Joseph actually did for the people of Egypt to make them the superpower over the world at that time. And this is exactly what America does. America don't give a damn about the contributions that Blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans have put into this country to build up their empire. We made all these damn inventions. We built the White House as slaves, right? We have given all into this country, and these damn cavemen don't give a goddamn about what we have done for this country, right? Verse 9, and he said unto his people, behold, the people of the children of Israel are more and mightier than we. And this is exactly how the oppressor feels today. They know damn well we mightier than them. Like I'm participating in Hebrew Academy, and today we working out in the pouring down rain. You know, these devils called the police on us and literally had a sheriff ride up on us and like ask us what we was doing. These people know we mightier than them, right? Salakia. Verse 10, come on, let us deal wisely with them, lest they multiply, and it come to pass that when there falleth out any war, they join also unto our enemies and fight against us, and so get them up out of the land. Now, let's break that down. Come on, let's deal wisely with us. Dealing wisely with us is sitting back and having meetings about how to keep us in a oppressed state of mind so we don't rise as a people. And I'm going to give you a couple of examples, right? When the Egyptians dealt wisely with us, they came up with a plan to put us in servitude to them so we can always be tired and beat down and oppressed. This is exactly what this damn caveman has done today. But he took it a step further in these times, right? And Salakia too, right? I forgot to pull up the Ebers Papyrus, but if you look at that Ebers Papyrus, a lot of our people was on drugs out of their mind back in ancient Egypt. And from me living in this society today, I can only imagine the reason why it was so much heavy drug abuse amongst the children of Israel is because of poverty. These devils, they deal wisely with us with putting drugs in our neighborhood. Telling sisters back in the 70s, man, look, you can get government assistance, but you can't be living with your husband. You got to get that man out the house, right? Look at the grocery stores and the processed food that they put in our neighborhoods. It's a McDonald's in every ghetto in America. Like the McDonald's is literally across the street from a lot of people's houses just to feed you terrible food, right? Like in Black, Latino, and Native American communities, we ain't got no damn Whole Foods to where we can go get a healthy choice of food, right? It's a lot there. The education system. We got the lowest testing schools in our communities, right? When you live in the ghetto, it's something about the police just always circling your neighborhood and watching what you're doing and trying to make sure that you stay in your place. They don't like. Another thing they did, they had redlining to where you couldn't buy a house if you was a Black person in a certain nice upscale neighborhood, right? A lot of people hear this story depending on where you're from, but I've heard this story from a lot of different people from ghettos all across the United States. And back in like this, the late 60s, early 70s, if you know the ghetto, a lot of the ghettos in America, they got train tracks that's close to the area where Blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans live in the hood. And people like my father's age, Like if you like 55 to like 60 years old, I've heard this story a lot of times to where they'd just be playing on the train tracks and kick open a crate and it'd be hella guns in there, or it'd be hella drugs in there. And it's literally like, it's kind of like somebody planted these drugs and guns in the Black, Latino, and Native American community on purpose. That's them dealing wisely with us, for them to keep us fighting each other and at each other's throats. You understand? That's them dealing wisely with us to keep us in an oppressed state of mind, so we don't look up and see that we actually getting done wrong, not by our brother that live on the same corner as us, or the brother that just live in another neighborhood not too far from you. Like another thing, what they did was dealing wisely with us in America was these blaxploitation movies, right? You got Blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans watching these type of movies in the 70s, in the late 60s, to where a lot of people will watch TV, and this perception of what's going on in TV, it becomes reality because you get indoctrinated to thinking that this is how you're supposed to live because you see people that look exactly like you on the TV living like this. So when the mid late 70s, early 80s, that blaxploitation film started to become reality in the ghettos in America. Movies like Superfly, Black Dynamite, and a bunch of other ones, Dolomite. Like a lot of those movies became what's the word I'm looking for? They became the blueprint for how the Black neighborhood is going to be in the years to come. And then when you get to the early mid 80s, you got this new drug called crack being dropped off in our community, and young niggas is having Mac 10s, Uzis, AK-47s. It ain't no more than cowboy guns like how you seen in the old Western movies. Niggas is playing with automatic weapons now, right? And it just got worse and worse over time. But it started with a lot of these movies and a perception that, man, look, I shouldn't be a nigga that should stand up for the atrocities against my people. I should just be a nigga that's being a drug dealer or a pimp, like these niggas that I see in the movie. And a lot of times in these movies, it was basically like still kind of they understand the mind frame of Blacks, Latinos, and Native American men on how we actually really want to fight back against this oppressor. So what they would do was they would set up this character. He would be a drug dealer or a pimp, but yet he's still talking about getting back at the man. This is all crafted counsel and dealing wisely with us. You understand? Salakia. Verse 11. Therefore, they did set over them taskmasters to afflict them with their burdens. You know what a taskmaster is? A taskmaster is Salakia. I'm gonna look that word up for y'all. Give me 1 second, Israel. A taskmaster is a person who imposes a harsh or a harsh workload on someone, right? And basically, the taskmaster, right? This would be equivalent to like, y'all ever seen a one of those old slavery pictures where you had the oppressor on the back of them horses, just outside, making sure all the slaves do what they do, making sure all the slaves fulfill their quota on how much cotton they got to pick or whatever they doing out in them damn fields. That's exactly what we had back there in Egypt, right? And a lot of the times, a taskmaster could be one of your own people. Like, you always had house niggas. This is like a taskmaster can essentially be a house nigga as well. You understand? And what your taskmaster is today in these modern times is that nigga that's on your job that's just giving you hell every single day, knowing damn well you in poverty. Like sometimes you can't even come to work because you're dealing with family stuff at home with your kids. But this taskmaster don't give a damn about that because he worked for the master. He worked for whoever owned that company that you work for. This is exactly what happened in ancient Egypt. The same exact thing, right? And they built for Pharaoh treasure cities, Python and Rameses. You know what a treasure city is? A treasure city is San Francisco. A treasure city is Oakland. A treasure city is LA, Philly, Baltimore, New York City, Miami, Florida, New Orleans. All these big major cities where these damn devils make millions and billions of dollars off of other people for their own personal gain to build up the wealth of their family. That's why I say Salaki. And they built Pharaoh treasure cities, Python and Rameses. This is a big city where the Pharaoh can get treasures out of. And you know who your Pharaoh is today? Your president. That's the Pharaoh of today. Like, they got and then this is literally modeled after ancient Egypt, right? The Washington Monument, that big the big pole in front of I forget, matter of fact, Salaki. Let me get that. Right? Make sure y'all can see that. That big pole, that Washington Monument. Well, I'm gonna show y'all that in ancient Egypt. I'm gonna show you that in ancient Egypt right now. So like me, bear with me. That's the Washington Monument right next to an obelisk in ancient Egypt. This is the same structure that was built in ancient Egypt. Oh, so lucky, I got one more for y'all, right? So lucky. Yeah, I'm gonna try to find that for y'all in a second, because I don't want to spend too much time trying to find this image, right? But I'm gonna just show you all this image right here. This is Abraham Lincoln, right? The statue of Abraham Lincoln. They got that same monument of the Egyptian pharaoh in Egypt. All right. So like, look, you see that? Them Egyptian pharaohs sitting down in the same position that you just seen Abraham Lincoln in. This is literally the same place as ancient Egypt all over again, right? That's why the title to this class is called "Nothing New Under the Sun." I'm gonna show you a whole lot of stuff that used to happen back in ancient times that happens today, right? Salakia. Let me keep going on that. But the more they afflicted them, the more they multiplied and grew. And they were grieved because of the children of Israel, right? Now, this is exactly what happened to Blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans today. The more they afflict us, the more we still here. The more that we're in their faces every day. They tried to kill off our population with eugenics, Planned Parenthood, right? Drugs in our community. They done took matters into, they done took drastic measures to try to get rid of the children of Israel, right? So like you. And it say, and they were grieved because of the children of Israel. Man, the oppressor is grieved at you in America. This is why you keep hearing stuff about police brutality and unarmed black men getting murdered by these damn devils. They grieved because of us, right? It just vexed them in their soul to see niggas, spicks, and wetbacks and savages, right? And the Egyptians made the children of Israel to serve with rigor. Hold on, they made us to serve with rigor. Let's look up that word rigor. Rigor, the quality of being extremely thorough, exhaustive, or accurate. Meaning, they'll beat the hell out of you if you don't do exactly what the hell they said do and how they said to do it. Just like they did in slavery, right? Just like they do today on these jobs. Now, they don't physically beat you today on the jobs because they outlawed that. But what they do is they beat your spirit down with having you do all these tasks at a slavery that you don't even really get paid for. Brothers and sisters go to work 6, sometimes 7 days a week, and still at the end of the month, all they had enough money for was to buy food and clothes. That's slavery. And remember, and I'm gonna keep a note that I put that only they got enough money to buy food and clothes. If you work in America and you only have enough money to buy food and shelter yourself and get some clothes here and there, you are a slave. You are a goddamn slave if you go to work and all you have enough money for is the bare necessities. That's slavery, right? And they made their lives bitter with hard bondage in mortar and in brick and in all manner of service in the field. All their service wherein they made So like all their service wherein they made them serve was with rigor. All the services that we did back in ancient Egypt, they made us serve with rigor. It's saying they made our lives bitter with hard bondage in mortar and in brick. You know what hard bondage is? That's being out in them goddamn slave fields on them plantations, picking cotton from sun up to sundown, raising these goddamn devil's children. You understand? Tending to their cows, their sheeps, or whatever type of livestock they had. Building up their nation while we get whips on our back. That's exactly what you get into today, too. You can work for a company and literally see the wealth in your face from the people that own that damn company, but yet you got to come back home to being in the projects. And I'm going to show you all the projects in ancient Egypt. I'm going to show you the projects in ancient Egypt, right? Salakia. And the king of Egypt spake to the Hebrew midwives, of which the name of the one Shiphrah, and the name of the other Hua. And he said, when ye do the office of a midwife to the Hebrew women, and see them upon the stools, if it be a son, then ye shall kill him. But if it be a daughter, then she shall live. That's exactly what America does right now. If you take a look at the Black, Latino, and Native American community, they murdering the men. They sending them niggas to prison. They doing us bad. But yet, look at the Black community. Most Black, Latino, and Native American young women, they got medical assistant jobs or dental assistant jobs. They letting them live while they murder us. And we all the same people. Like, everybody is not understanding what's actually really going on unless you're in the truth. These damn devils then learn exactly what they're doing from us serving slavery in Egypt and modeled this land after how Egypt became a great superpower. Just like, and it's like, if it be a son, then ye shall kill him. These is Hebrew midwives. Their job is to make sure the baby is born healthy and everything is okay with the baby. This is literally abortion in the Bible. This is Planned Parenthood in the Bible. Most High Christ for these sisters though, because they wasn't with it. They feared through. You understand? And the Lord blessed them, right? So I'm gonna drop that and let's go to Exodus 2. Exodus, the 2nd chapter, right? Because we're gonna get some more about this slavery that we served in ancient Egypt. This is the book of Exodus, chapter 2, and verse, I'm start at 11. And it came to pass in those days when Moses was grown, that he went out unto his brethren and looked on their burdens, and he spied an Egyptian smiting a Hebrew, one of his brethren. Now, let me give you a little bit of history about Moses. Moses lived in these times where the Pharaoh of Egypt gave order to these Hebrew midwives that, look, if it's a boy, kill him. They wasn't doing that, so Pharaoh took matters into his own hands, and he came up with a decree. You find a Hebrew baby boy, throw his ass, Salaki, throw him in the river. And that's what they was doing at that time. They do this all throughout history to Blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans. They look for a way to cripple our nation by destroying the men. This is exactly what's going on in America. Black, Latino, and Native American men, we are #1 in the prison system. We #1 on drugs. We #1 in gangs. This is everywhere in the world where you find Israelites at. Right? So lock in. So basically when Moses got older, right? Because Moses, he was born in those times where he was supposed to be killed. The Lord was with him, and he ended up being adopted by Pharaoh's daughter, right? So he actually grew up in Pharaoh's house. Moses grew up a nigga with some money. But Pharaoh was, Salakia, but Moses was raised by his mother. So he knew exactly who he was. He knew he was an Israelite from the tribe of Levi, right? So Moses, when he got older, he went to go see what was going on with his people, right? And then he seen an Egyptian smiting one of his brethren. And the word smiting, let's look that word up. Smite, strike with a firm blow. Strike with a firm blow, right? So Moses sees an Egyptian putting his hands on one of his Hebrew brothers. Now, what is that today? That's basically police brutality that Moses witnessed, right? Like, as far as the children of Israel living in the land of Egypt, the police would be Egyptians to us. Moses seen police brutality in his lifetime, right? And look what Moses did. Verse 12, and he looked this way and that way, and when he saw that there was no man, he slew the Egyptian and hid him in the sand. Now, if you look at the spirit of Blacks, Latinos, and Native American men in this country that we live in, for the most part, niggas want to fight back for what's going on with their people. Earlier on in like the 60s and the 70s, right? But a lot of niggas got weak and took the money from the government and basically sold their own brothers and sisters out. Not Moses, though. Moses had that warrior spirit on him to where he wanted to defend his brother. So you know what Moses did? Moses caught a body. Moses smoked the Egyptian, basically. Killed the Egyptian, then hit him in the sand, right? And when he went out the second day, behold, two men of the Hebrews strove together. So the next day after that, Moses see two Israelite brothers getting into it with each other, right? And he said to him that did the wrong, wherefore smitest thou thy fellow? So this nigga Moses a real nigga. He walked in like, bro, we brothers, bro. Like, come on, bro. Like, just how certain niggas be acting like they are actually for their people, and oh, I'm not with the tearing a black man down and we all brothers. Moses actually really meant that. Moses was about the life of trying to lift up his people so we could be on high and love each other, right? Thanks a lot, yeah. Verse 14, and he said, who made thee a prince and a judge over us? Man, the brothers say to Moses, man, nigga, who is you, bro, to be telling us what we should and shouldn't do? This is what niggas do when we are outside at camp telling Blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans that you got to wake up, love your people, and follow your statutes and commandments given to you by your power that you're supposed to serve. These niggas was like, man, bro, we don't want to hear none of that. That's exactly what happens today. I mean, I wasn't born in the truth. I was a nigga in the world too. If somebody tried to tell me to do right by my own people, I'd have been like, man, nigga, I don't care about none of that. This is exactly what was going on in ancient Egypt. And you know why brothers think like that? Niggas think like that because we so impoverished and we so beaten down and broken by this oppressor. All we see is our brother in our same neighborhood, and he the only one that we can take the frustration out on. That's exactly what these brothers was doing. They seen Moses like, nigga, who made you a prince and a lord over us? Like, nigga, we ain't listening to you. You feel me? Intendest thou to kill me as thou killest the Egyptian? And Moses feared and said, surely this thing is known. So he like, bro, what you gonna do? Kill us like how you did the Egyptian? Challenging Moses, because Moses is an Israelite just like him, and the brother is going through hell, right? Verse 15. Now when Pharaoh heard this thing, he sought to slay Moses. But Moses fled from the face of Pharaoh and dwelt in the land of Midian, and he sat by a well. Man, look, Moses had a warrant out for his arrest for him to be killed. And you know what Moses did? Moses went on the run. I'm sure a lot of brothers and sisters that live in the ghetto know somebody that committed a crime and now they went on the run. It's exactly what Moses did. Moses caught a body and it was a warrant out for his arrest, so he had to get up out of there. That happens all the time in America. Like I said, America is Egypt. Right? I'm gonna go ahead and drop that. And let's go to Revelation 11 and 8. This is the book of Revelation, chapter 11 and verse 8. And their dead bodies shall lie in the street of the great city, right? Like Blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans as a whole, we are spiritually dead in this great city. Sometimes it's physically dead because we get murdered by one another and murdered by these damn devil police officers. The scripture, so I'm gonna read that one more time. And their dead bodies shall lie in the street of the great city, which spiritually is called Sodom and Egypt. You know why it's spiritually called Sodom and Egypt? Because Sodom was a place where homosexuality ran rampant. America is the first place where LGBTQ community member, and it's legal. Back in America, they used to tell you that being LGBTQ or whatever you want to call it was a sickness, and it damn sure is a sickness. But at the same time, though, this is spiritually sound for that reason. Also, this is spiritually Egypt because this land was built off the back of slaves. All of the statues and monuments that's here are literally modeled after ancient Egypt, right? Let me get into something that I found online, right? So lock it. Give me 1 second, Israel. Bear with me. So I was gonna yeah, let me find it. Give me 1 second, Israel. So lock it. 1 second. Bear with me, Israel. Baba Shah. AncientEgyptOnline.com. Slovakia, Israel. I had it. I didn't even save it. Let's see if this is it. Okay. Okay, this is for okay, say ancient Egypt houses. During ancient times, Egyptians lived in houses made from mud bricks. The annual floods brought a lot of mud, which made the construction process easier. Salakia, that ain't what I'm looking for. Most Egyptian homes had a roof in central room and smaller rooms attached, right? So now if you think about this, right? Salakia, this is what I'm looking for. Wow, that ain't what I'm looking for. Salakia, Israel. Yeah, I'm gonna just go ahead and stand down on that because I can't find it. I just had it last night. Salakia, let me get one more thing. Yeah, I'm gonna just stand down on that one. But what I was gonna show y'all was right. I had an article where it basically like described the houses of a slave in Egypt versus a person who was rich in Egypt. And what the article said was, and Salakia, man, I'm supposed to be up on it. I'm supposed to have this article, but I can't find it right now. But basically, and the source was a website called AncientEgyptOnline.com. If y'all could, y'all can look it up yourselves if y'all want to. But basically, it showed that that first of all, the ancient Egyptian slaves, they were paid in bread and beer. That's literally welfare, right? Just like how a sister can get cash aid and food stamps to be able to feed herself and feed her children. That's exactly what they did in ancient Egypt. When they explained the living quarters of the slaves in ancient Egypt, they said it was like a lot of row houses with small small walkway paths in between the row houses, and it'll be like one big building, and then they had like a small pathway that separated other buildings. This is literally the projects in ancient Egypt. And everybody lived in small, tight quarters. And how they explained the rooms in the houses, it would probably be like 3 to 4 rooms in the houses, meaning you got a kitchen, you got a living room, and probably like 2 bedrooms, or however you wanted to make it work. Then you had menial furniture in these houses, just like brothers and sisters that live in the hood and in the projects today. You're not gonna have as much stuff and appliances in your house that a rich person or a wealthy person would have, right? And then it explained what type of house that the wealthy people had. The wealthy people had much bigger houses that were painted white to keep to keep the inside of the house cool. On top of that, the houses had lawns in the front of them with like grass and stuff, just like how you'll see in the suburbs or in an upscale Edomite community. Big houses, a big white house with a lawn in front of it, and basically you're not all bunched up together like how these slaves is living in the slave quarters, or AKA the projects, right? Another thing was, Salaki, what was I gonna say? Another thing was the type of items that the more wealthier people had in their house. They had mirrors, they had makeup, book bags, and all type of stuff that the famous, I mean, not the famous, but the richer, more wealthier part of the community. I mean, not part of the community, but the richer or more wealthier people in that land would have, versus you being a slave and you only having 2 or 3 pairs of clothes. The rich and wealthy people, they had all these different type of appliances in their house, and then they had basically a walk-in closet back in the day, to where they had a separate room for where they makeup go, and different sets of clean clothes. This is exactly how America is today. You got a low class of people, which they call the middle class, but it's actually the low class people. And then you got a high class people who live in big houses on their own properties and don't have neighbors so boxed in and close to them together, to where you can hear what's going on in the neighbor's house because y'all live in the same apartment building or project building. This is exactly how ancient Egypt was modeled. I mean, Salaki, this is exactly how America is modeled after ancient Egypt. The same thing that went on in ancient Egypt as far as slavery, how a slave lives, and how you have a president, right? And that was another thing that I was going to bring out too. This running for president, that literally comes from ancient Egypt. Back in ancient Egypt, they used to, and I'm not sure if it was every 4 years or every 8 years or something like that, but the president in ancient Egypt, he had to basically like do a endurance test. Like he had to run, like, and basically prove to the people that he was physically fit to still be the pharaoh over those people. And this is where running for president comes from ancient Egypt, right? They had the same type of Druxalagia. Let me see if I can pull that real quick. Yeah, I don't think they're gonna let me do it. Yeah, they're not gonna let me do it for time's sake. I'm just not gonna do it. But it was there's something called the Ebers Papyrus, and it's like basically like a ancient medical manuscript from ancient Egypt. Well, a lot of the same drugs that you have today, in America was in ancient Egypt, like marijuana. They used to make a depository for marijuana, mix I think it was honey and some other stuff with the marijuana, and insert it in the rectum of the slave. This is literally what's going on today with brothers and sisters smoking all this weed because they the slaves in America. You got pharaohs who, when they opened up their tomb, they had traces of cocaine in their system, right? They used to just like you got like this syrup today, this promethazine codeine cough syrup today that a lot of young brothers and sisters be using. Now, what they used to do back then was they used to soak the lotus flower plant and get the basically the whatever is in it that makes it a hallucinogenic drug, and they used to mix it with beer, and they used to be sitting back drinking that, just how brothers and sisters drink syrup today. This is literally Egypt all over again. You understand? And this is what Moses prophesied what was going to happen to the children of Israel if we didn't obey the law, statutes, and commandments that the Lord gave unto the children of Israel, right? So with that being said, I'm going to go in and the class. Yahweh by Hashem, Yahweh Shah, Barak and Thumb to the brothers. Yahweh Shemor, Allah Thun by Hashem, Yahweh Shah to the sisters. This has been another installment of Nothing New Under the Sun. The water for the brothers and sisters that's out there watching. If you attended the class, please make sure you put your name, city, and state so we can mark you down for attendance, so you can get that Hebrew name and come up out of the world and come serve Christ with the brothers and sisters in the ISUPK up under Commander General Yana. With that being said, Shalom, Israel.